What is up, guys? Bit of a lo-fi, non-slickly edited punk politics for you now. I just wanted to share some thoughts on an idea that popped in my head this afternoon. I did a TikTok about it earlier, but it was very rough and ready as I was walking down a high street. So I thought, I mean, this is still rough and ready, right? But at least you can hear me talk, hopefully, without the wind blowing in the microphone every 2 seconds. Anyway, the idea, this sort of thing popped in my head earlier, as these things frequently do. And I'm like, yeah, I wonder what's up with that. Basically, I came up with this. I was like, what's going to be raised at the general election? What are the big themes going to be? I think, obviously, cost of living is going to be a big one. The state of the economy, what we've got to look forward to, whether the Tories could credibly offer some sort of cut in taxation. I don't think they could. I think any discussion around cutting people's taxes is going to be either a huge lie, where the Tories are going to go, yeah, after the election, of course we'll cut taxes. And then they won't. Or I think it will be ignorance, be like naivety. They're going to think that they can because they've cancelled HS2. The reality will be that the HS2 money will go towards just servicing debt like everything else. And so they won't be able to do it anyway. But I think one of the other big themes of the upcoming general election will be proportional representation. So for the benefit of those of you who are not so familiar with this, PR, the idea is that the problem that we're trying to solve by going for PR is this. So if you've got a constituency of 30,000 voters and 20,000 vote Conservative, but 10,000 vote for a mixture of like Labour and Greens and Lib Dems and so on, the problem with first past the post, which is what we call our current voting system, which is only used by like Belarus and Russia, I think. Like, we're one of the last remaining places. I was about to say democracies. I don't think they're really democracies, are they? We're one of the last, certainly, democracies and countries that still use first past the post. The idea is that you want to get away from those people's votes just being lost. So 20,000 vote Tory, well, what happens to the other, 10,000? Are they not represented at all? Their thoughts and feelings, sensibilities are not factored in. Right, okay. So that's the sort of situation you're trying to get away from, the problem that we're trying to solve. Is greater representation amongst the parties. Now, this sort of led me on to thinking, right, well, why do we even have parties? Like, to my mind, a political party is an institution, it's a body that allows a sort of strength in numbers of people who share similar, if not the same, ideologies and sensibilities, to all coalesce around those sensibilities and then implement policy that reflects what they would like to see politically, societally. And that makes sense in a world where, cast your mind back to like the 19th century, early 20th century, where we didn't have phones, we didn't have emails, and people needed to be part of an entity that could work and communicate with each other. They could send a message from this constituency up to that mayor, and then that would go up to the MP of the parliamentary. Do you know what I mean? It was a slow, sluggish way of operating politically. So it makes sense. You would need that institution there to send telegrams to each other, to hold big events where you could all congregate and exchange ideas. These days, we don't really need any of that. We communicate by phone, email, text, you name it. We don't even need to really meet up. I mean, it's nice to do that socially. We all know that. But we don't need to run a country. And so this idea that you need to be part of a party, to me, seems to be something that only benefits those at the top of the party. It's not in the interest of the electorate. And what I mean by that is what if we remove the parties from the equation? Like, we all know how echo chambery and tribal British politics has come. Western liberal politics has become. Well, what would happen if you took away Labour and Conservative from it? If there was no more red and blue and you were thrown into a local election, excuse me, I've had the lurgy all week. If you were thrown into a local election and they were like, right, who are you going to vote for? If you no longer could just knee-jerk and go into like, oh, well, you know, my whole family's like a Labour family. We always, well, we'll live and die Labour. We will, you know. If you had that removed and you were forced to actually look at what these candidates stand for and what their ideas are, and you don't know if they're a red or a blue, you know, this whole idea that they're part of this house team and this person is that house captain, you know, oh, you're a baddie because you're part of the blue team. I don't like you. You know, if you were forced to actually read what they stand for, their policies, their ideas and so on, you'd probably get a more reflective member of parliament to reflect your concerns when they go up to parliament and make their case for the things that affect you and your area. And then when you get to the parliamentary level, there is this idea that, you know what, then how would you have a prime minister if everyone was effectively an independent, if they weren't aligned to a party? But then I get into the sort of mind space where I'm like, well, what if all of the MPs together, if they then looked at legacy MPs who then said, look, you know, I've been an MP for, you know, Gerrard's Cross for like 14 years. I think I'm ready to be a PM now. Then all of the MPs together, they get to vote on who should be, you know, the sort of supreme MP or PM. And that might sound a bit authoritarian, I suppose, or like dictatorial, but you could put checks and balances in place to restrict that person. Once they've become PM, they can only again be PM for like 4 years or 8 years. And then the cycle continues. They all go and vote again. Like, I don't really see why that wouldn't work. And I'm open to discussion, but to my mind, that completely solves the problem of tribalism, of binary thinking, of corruption. You know, if everyone was an independent MP at the parliamentary level, there would be no whip's office telling them how to vote. They would all be able to just scrutinise legislation on its own terms. Like, what is this here that you're giving me? This is a police crime and sentencing book. Okay, right, well, I'm not sure I like this. You know, there would be no pressure from donors donating to political parties and saying, yeah, just sort us out next time there's a private healthcare bill, yeah? You know what I mean? So I think this works better at the constituency, the parliamentary level, and the prime ministerial level. But I'm interested to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments below. And I never say this, but if you haven't yet liked and subscribed, please do so. Until next time, I'll catch you on the next like proper punk politics video. Take care of yourselves. All right. Cheerio.